All right, we've had a lot of discussions on this channel about the Thin Blue Line terror crew of the Loveland Police Department, which is forever dubbed the Hateland Police Department. And before I continue, I was reminded by one of my subscribers, Matthew, on my last community post that Thomas Jefferson said something to the effect of, all tyranny needs to gain a foothold is people of good conscience to remain silent. So I can't remain silent about this Karen Garner case. And one of the reasons I can't is because, number one, it's inherently wrong. It's evil. It's criminal. And the second thing is, this isn't just relegated to the Loveland Police Department. The Loveland Police Department is just a symptom of a greater issue going on constantly in what is known as the law enforcement community. It's not relegated to the outskirts. It's not something that infrequently happens. This kind of stuff happens all the time, whether you're talking about the Mesa Police Department or the Phoenix Police Department that was investigated for 3 years by the DOJ and continued to conduct their criminality while they were being investigated and never broke pace with their criminality after they were investigated. We can talk about the criminal acts done by the LAPD, the Nevada Highway Patrol, the Arkansas State Police, the NYPD, which, by the way, the Mullen Commission concluded was engaged in corruption, large-scale corruption characterized by brutality, theft, abuse of authority, and active police criminality. That's from two cases. That's from the Mullen Commission and the Knapp Commission. The Mullen Commission was in 1994. The Knapp Commission was in the 1970s, spearheaded by Frank Serpico, if you remember that one. But getting back to Colorado and Karen Garner, we talked a lot about Austin Hopp and Daria Jalali. Now, just to get you up to speed, they are the two that brutalized and attacked Karen Garner mercilessly and then continued to show how evil they are after they dislocated her shoulder from her socket, fractured her bones, had her arrested, sitting alone, isolated in a cell while they sat outside looking at the body camera video of what they did and their actual attack and how vicious they were and laughing about it. So what happened was Austin Hopp received 5 years in prison, 3 years mandatory parole, barred from law enforcement after he pleaded guilty to second-degree assault, which is a class 3 felony. And Daria Jalali, who helped him in his attack and then tried to lie on the records to kind of cover it up, she pleaded guilty to failure to intervene. She got 45 days in jail, 3 years probation, 250 hours of community service, and she too was barred from law enforcement. But we haven't talked much about this guy right here. This is Austin Hopp and Daria Jalali's Sergeant Phil Metzler. What a lot of people don't know is that while Austin Hopp and Daria Jalali were being criminally prosecuted, Phil Metzler was trying to hide the body cam evidence, mislabeling the body cam evidence so it wouldn't be brought into evidence. Check this out.
Yeah, Matt, lots of information in that report, which shows one officer went as far as hiding body camera video to try and prevent it from becoming part of any investigation. Just one of a number of issues detailed in that report.
In the arrest of Ms. Gardner, egregious mistakes were made.
See how they downplay it? Even when they're pinpointing the wrong that was done within the department, they call it an egregious mistake. Even when they were prosecuting Daria Jalali and Austin Hopp, the judge, his name is Joshua Lehman, said that it was an abysmal failure. This is active criminality. This is going after and attacking a member of the community that you're supposed to be protecting and serving. And if any one of us did what Austin Hopp did and Daria Jalali did and Sergeant Metzger did, we would be in jail for a long, long time, and rightly so. So this is how they use euphemisms. This is how they downplay active police criminality.
Cleveland City Manager Steve Adams releasing a third-party report into the arrest of Karen Garner more than 2 years after the 73-year-old was violently arrested.
Let's stop. Come on. Come on.
Perhaps the most alarming new detail, confirmation that responding Sergeant Phil Metzler tried to hide his body camera video.
Look at this. Through his actions, Metzler hid a piece of potential evidence. This is during active criminal prosecution. Metzler's body-worn camera footage would not be available to LPD personnel reviewing the Garner case file, nor would it be included in materials shared with the district attorney or be available for discovery in a criminal prosecution. What would happen to you and I if we were hiding crucial evidence in a criminal prosecution?
Of the incident by changing the case number on this video footage in hopes it would be deleted.
Just letting you know, because
he didn't do anything wrong.
The report also shows Metzler failed to
We're going to get back to that guy in a second. Stay tuned.
investigate Garner's injuries and failed to provide proper medical care. Metzler has since resigned.
And that's what happened. After they all three conspired together in violation of 18 U.S.C. 241, conspiracy against rights, and deprivation of rights under color of law, Sergeant Metzler, during a disciplinary review in September of 2021, was allowed to resign. He faced no criminal charges, even though he was criticized for policy violations. Initially, they said he didn't even violate policy. This is the core of what's wrong with law enforcement. It is actually built on a system that has the blueprint for and incentivizes corruption and corrupt individuals who want to grab the ring of power and exercise and abuse that power when they're dealing with the public.
Metzler, as aware, is no longer with our police department.
The city says changes are now being made to how officers interact with people and how they handle use of force cases. Yet some wonder why it took something like this to make it happen.
And as a community member,
I don't wonder. Do you? Do you wonder? They will keep it hidden for as long as they can until it becomes such a great public relations nightmare that they can do nothing about it and they've got to face the music. Only then, when you twist their arm behind their back, will they do something, but they won't do to their fellow Thin Blue Line gang members the things that they will do to you if you committed a crime.
it makes me really angry, quite frankly. They already had that training. And so now Karen Garner happens, and then the Jensen Hughes report happens, and they're like, oh, yes, we need to do that. Well, weren't you already doing that?
And stay tuned, because we're going to watch the body cam footage that Metzler tried to hide from the prosecution.
So, who dropped the ball here?
Now, it's worth mentioning that report did not look into the two officers initially involved in that arrest because both have already been found criminally responsible.
Curiously, this is a very difficult to find picture of Sergeant Phil Metzler. I wonder why they're trying to hide this. This right here shows the testimony of this guy right here who tried to stop them from abusing Karen Garner, and the fact that the bigwigs in the police department authorized this kind of abuse of Karen Garner. Check this out.
Let's stop. Come on. Come on.
I'm going home. Video showing Karen Garner forced to the ground that after only shared publicly led to two officers out of jobs and charged.
On the ground.
But long before this video went viral, Ray Mendoza was already sounding the alarm.
I see him walking, and then I see him throwing it to the ground.
Ray seen here talking to Loveland Police Sergeant Phil Metzler.
By seeing it here, she wasn't running.
So you have a complete lack of trust of police because you watch the news. I understand that.
Metzler, who
I don't know about you, but I have a complete lack of trust in police just based on their body cams. These people are wearing cameras and they can't help but commit these atrocious crimes.
who had not witnessed the use of force, is dismissive and suggests Ray could be in trouble for getting involved.
What are you doing? Get out of here. This is not your business.
You're interfering in this, okay?
Just letting you know, because
He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong.
Intimidated me right away, so I tried to keep my mouth as much as possible to shut up, to not say anything.
Yeah, so did you get that? You're interfering with us. You're interfering with our criminality. When they say it's interference or obstruction of justice, you're actually obstructing, interfering with injustice.
For the first time, Ray Mendoza is speaking out publicly, talking exclusively with Fox 31.
I didn't know he was a sergeant. I thought he was a normal cop or whatever.
We played Sergeant Metzler's newly released body cam footage for Ray for the first time.
You don't have all the knowledge.
He shouldn't react like that. He should have been more professional.
Sergeant Metzler is still on the force. Records show he and LPD leadership as high as assistant chief approved the use of force as within policy after
They approved of the attack of Karen Garner, saying it's within our department's guidelines. That should alarm every person who lives in Loveland.
Reviewing this body cam footage.
It's something that is coming out of my heart to help that lady because what they did to her wasn't right.
As for Metzler, Mendoza says he has some work to do.
If he wants to be the guy in charge, he needs to take more classes of being more polite with people, you know?
Now here's the body cam footage that Sergeant Phil Metzler tried to hide. During a criminal prosecution.
I'm paying my car payment. And then I see the lady I thought was a kid, you know? And I see her walking, and then I see him throwing it to the ground. That person wasn't even running or anything. I was like, that's not okay, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I came and I'm like, hey, that's not the way to react. But he said that she was running or whatever, you know? Which we didn't see it that way. And that way that
Do you know who she is?
No.
Do you know where she's coming from?
No.
Do you know what crime she's committed?
I just see her coming.
Do you know what crime she's committed?
But I just see him walking right there, you know?
I'm just asking you.
No,
Do you know any of the story?
No.
So all you did was just take a brief little view of it, and you don't know the rest of the story?
No, I don't know because
Okay.
I see the lady walking right here.
Yeah.
She was walking, you know? So if you are parking over there and you see a person walking, and the next thing you see a cop throwing it to the ground when she's not using force or nothing, how is there going to be your reaction?
I'm not sure, but usually I would think that the police have a reason to arrest her. That's
No,
what.
all the time. Did you see what happened
Okay.
not too long ago?
What?
Actually, you should assume the opposite. Based on how corrupt we know the cops to be just on their body cam, not from watching anything on the news through fake stream media, just watching their body cam footage, you should assume that the cops are currently engaged in theft, brutality, abuse of authority, and active police criminality, and you should stop and at least record. See, this right here is why cops don't want you to record them. They don't want you to be close to the scene. They always claim officer safety because if you're too close, you might capture something on your video that they don't want to be seen. You might capture something on audio that they don't want to be heard.
You know?
Is there anything I can do for you today?
Well, no, I just see that, you know. because
Okay,
that-
well, I
that's not
appreciate
okay.
that. I appreciate your concern. She committed a crime. She ran from the Walmart. That officer caught up to her over here, and she resisted arrest. And she's under arrest for criminal charges of theft.
Yeah.
And obstruction and resisting.
Yeah,
okay?
because the fact, you know, by seeing her here, she wasn't running.
It doesn't matter, sir. She committed a crime over there. She
It
stole.
doesn't matter. We reserve the right to throw anybody down to the ground. We don't care if they're 72, dementia patient, with it mentally. It doesn't matter. Do you not understand, sir? She stole $13.88 from Walmart. This is a capital offense, and this is how we protect Loveland.
From the store and then ran from the store. By the time you see her, which is a very small snapshot, she's walking. That doesn't mean that she's innocent. She committed a crime over there.
Well,
the business has called us. They called 911. So if I steal your car and I just drive down the block and then about 20 minutes later somebody sees me and do you want me to arrest that person and get your car back, or should I let them go?
But it's how I'm telling you, the way that you see it from here.
Well, I appreciate that. If you want to file
know.
a complaint, sir, you can go down to the police department and file a complaint, or you can do it online. We have a website, and you can feel free.
Well,
But I'm saying you don't know the story here, and you interjected yourself into a situation that was law enforcement related, and you're really kind of close to the whole thing, in my opinion. So I would caution you next time, if you want to videotape and make sure everything's okay, that you stay a little further back, because had this turned into a violent encounter or she had pulled a gun, you and your family would have been in the mix, okay? Because you put them there. So you may think you're defending her, but she's the one that committed the crime.
Yeah, and I see it.
And the business called us because she stole from them and ran from them. Just because you didn't see it doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Yeah,
okay?
you know, but that's why I'm telling you, if other people see
well,
the
I
same
appreciate
situation,
I
they
appreciate
would've did the same thing.
No,
you know?
you don't have all the knowledge. And so you have a complete lack of trust of police because you watch the news. I understand that.
No, the news, because the stuff that happened to me too.
Okay,
you know?
well, again,
So,
I'm going to caution you about getting this close and involving yourself in law enforcement situations. If you want to videotape and monitor it, you could have done it from much further back.
I'm not videotaping.
You inserted yourself into the situation. They were right there fighting with her. Had she pulled a weapon, you would have been right.
She was already on that car when I pulled here.
You hear what I'm saying? If
Well,
you do this
I
every time we have a
I just
call.
did it today, you know, and
Okay,
and that's
well,
why
you've said
because
it 3 times. I got it. If you want to file a complaint on the officers, you feel free to do that. Okay?
Just letting you know, because
He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong. She committed a crime.
Yeah, I don't know about...
If you commit a crime, if you go and steal something...
Metzler says Hop and Jalali didn't do anything wrong, and Hop and Jalali went to jail for doing something wrong. And not only that, Hop and Jalali and Metzler cost the city of Loveland, the tax cattle of Loveland, $3 million. So this guy was right. Metzler was completely in the wrong.
And you run from me, and you resist, then you'll get taken to the ground too.
I know.
That's how it works.
Last year I get arrested for no reason, you know?
Well, I'm sure there was a reason.
No, there was no reason.
Okay, well, I'm sure there was a reason.
I didn't get charged for nothing.
He's calling this guy a liar. The liar is calling a guy who's telling the truth a liar. Let that sink in.
That has nothing to do with this, sir.
No, that's what.
Has nothing to do with this. You're interfering in this. Has nothing to do with this. Okay, I encourage you to do that. Okay, yeah, see ya.
And you might be saying to yourself, well, Metzler, he's kind of an outlier. Daria, Jalali, Austin, Hop, okay, they got what they deserve. No, not really. They should go to jail for life, because you can't have people out in the community who are willing to do that to an elderly member of the community. But this isn't just about one incident in Loveland. I'm just going to show you one more incident where the Loveland Police Department is willing to initiate violence on people who haven't done anything wrong. Listen to what they did to this guy, his daughter, and their dog that they picked up by the neck and kicked.
One of the other big stories we're following tonight, a Loveland family's filed a lawsuit against the city's police department over an incident that happened during the arrest of a 14-year-old and her father.
It started at the Safeway parking lot in Loveland. The 14-year-old was riding her bike and spotted her boyfriend with another girl. She confronted him, slapped him, and then rode off. It's that slap that prompted police to respond first to Safeway and then to the girl's house.
And by the way, that's assault. You can't go around doing that, okay?
To arrest her.
I was outside working on my daughter's bike, and I seen 4 police officers show up.
This is the body camera footage from that arrest. Police first spoke with her father and asked him to call her out to talk.
It just got really escalated really quick, and next thing you know, they're wrestling with her, and I couldn't do anything. I was helpless, watching my daughter getting manhandled by 3 other police officers. It's horrifying, terrifying.
John Sears started arguing with the officers, telling them he wanted to put his dog inside so it wouldn't bite them. He says officers shot a loved one's dog in the past and he was trying to avoid that. Officers wouldn't let him put the dog in the house. He tried anyway and they shoved him and eventually tased him.
I was mad. I was scared. I've never been in a situation quite like that before.
The officers are then seen on body cameras carrying the dog by its collar into the house and kicking it. Both John and his daughter were arrested, but charges were eventually dropped. Now,
grabbing the dog by its neck and then kicking it. That's about the speed of law enforcement. Probably because they were fearing for their lives.
The family is suing the police department over their use of force.
This is the same female attorney that defended Karen Garner and her family and got $3 million in settlement money.
The violence that the Loveland police inflicted in this case was so needless. It was so senseless.
I find it ironic that she has a torture cuff necklace.
Family's attorney Sarah Shelkey says this is just the latest incident to come to light about the Loveland Police Department.
Really, it's like a testament to how bad things are at Loveland, is that they know they're being recorded and they don't change their behavior.
The city of Loveland has now initiated an independent review of the incident, telling Denver 7 in a statement, quote, "The incidents were initially reviewed and deemed appropriate at the time of the event, but the city is taking a second outside look at the incident in our efforts to ensure we are policing in a respectful and proper manner."
Did you get that? The incidents were initially reviewed and deemed appropriate at the time of the event. Tasing a guy who's clearly upset about the way the officers are treating his daughter, and then picking a dog up, a family pet, by the neck, clearly not a harm to anybody, and then kicking it inside the house. That was deemed appropriate at the time of the event, but we'll have an outside source take a look at it and we'll get back to you and let you know what happened.
Look at the incident in our efforts to ensure we are policing in a respectful and proper manner. As for John Sears, he says his main priority is accountability.
What if it's your child and you're the parent?
So I just wanted to remind and reactivate the name Sergeant Phil Metzler and the Loveland-Hateland Police Department in Colorado. This is a microcosm of the massive criminality going on within what we know as law enforcement today. Leave your thoughts about this. If you want to support the channel, check out my most popular videos playlist. I'm sure there's something on there that you haven't seen. It would really help me out if you went there and maybe binge watch some videos and leave a couple comments. It really does help with the algorithm. If you want to support further, the links are in the description. If you've got a story that you want me to look at and you've got body camera footage to prove your innocence or prove law enforcement guilt, that link's in the description as well. Grab a shirt, become a channel member, but whatever you do, understand what your unalienable rights are and never, ever let them go. And by the way, always record the police. I will see you in the next video.